I guess that's all the preliminary. We can meet the board. Okay. Each elected county supervisor appoints one Board of Adjustment member who is a resident of their supervisory district to serve a 4-year term. A board member service is pro bono, means free. Quorum is 2 commissioners. A majority vote passes the motion. Variance dockets are approved by the board. Any person aggrieved by a decision of the Board of Adjustment may at any time within 30 calendar days of such decision appeal to the Superior Court, and the matter shall be heard in a like manner as appeals from courts of justice of the peace. Which means if you don't like what you hear today, go to court. And I think I've done it for 20 years, and I think only one person has ever taken it beyond. So, okay. So now, let's have we had to call the approval of the minute.
I make a motion to approve the one August 2023's minutes.
Yeah, here they are. No, July 20.
They were July.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, well,
Here they are if you want to read them quick.
yeah, I don't think there was too much to it.
There wasn't too much to us.
Yeah, I think we approved a couple of variances. I thought there was another one. We did that, but it looks like the one on Navajo that was approved unanimously by the board. And make a motion to accept the July 2023 minutes.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. So, now we'll start a public hearing. And it's variation 23-07, Shawnee setback. An applicant initiated variance request to section 2.24.040, setbacks, principal and accessory structures and uses of the zoning regulation. So I think Christine would like to speak now on it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
All right.
Happy to planner 2, Development Services Department. This is the staff presentation for variance application 2307. Property is located at 5555 South Shawnee Drive in Sierra Vista. The applicant is Mr. Donald Simpson, and the applicant is present this evening. The request is to allow an accessory building 5 feet from the north property line. This equates to a 15-foot setback reduction request, whereas the minimum is 20 feet is typically required. The applicant's site plan identifies the existing structures within the property as well as the configuration of the development on the property. The image to the right is an aerial photo that replicates the site plan. And just immediately to the right of the swimming pool and a little bit south, it's partially obscured by the trees, but that's where the existing shed is. For context, the shed is approximately 25 feet from the detached garage on the adjacent lot, and in excess of 45 feet to the residence on the adjacent.
So, and this is the shed here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Making sure you saw it.
These images have been supplied by the applicant, showing the existing shed, which dates to the period when the house was built, in the late 1970s.
76 was their application for a permit, 77 is when we moved in.
All right, so the shed in the upper left-hand corner, again, the shed in the right, that actually shows the view from the rear of the residence. The shed is on the other side of that wall. The shed is in some degree of, it's a bit weathered over all the years. To the lower right is an image of the shed like the one that the applicant is proposing. And that shed does measure 12 by 32 feet, which equates to 384 square feet. The zoning ordinance section 2.60010 identifies 8 factors which are used to evaluate variance proposals. The applicant's request complies with 5 of those factors. It does not comply with 3 of the factors, and those deal predominantly with unique conditions to the property. I'd just like to take a minute to say in summary, property does not demonstrate any peculiar site conditions. However, the proposed location of the new accessory structure is not out of character with other neighborhood accessory structures and does not appear to pose any adverse impacts to surrounding properties or violations of any superseding state or federal laws. Staff goes to the property on September 1st, published legal notice in the Sierra Vista Herald on September the 8th. Staff also mailed notices to 14 property owners on September 5th. Those were property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. Staff did receive 3 responses in favor of the variance. As you can see by the graphic, those 2 of those property owners adjacent to the subject property. The northern property from the property line of the subject property will be the most impacted. So again, factors in favor of the request. The request is consistent with 5 of the 8 criteria used by staff to determine the suitability. The applicant has identified some mobility issues and has requested a reasonable accommodation of the board. The case planner did not receive opposition from any property owners within 300 feet. Factors against, again, would be there are no necessarily unique circumstances on the property which will preclude an accessory structure from being placed elsewhere on the property and meeting that 20-foot car setback. So staff does recommend approval based on the factors in favor as findings of fact, subject to the following condition, that the new storage building shall not receive any utilities, i.e. electrical, mechanical, or plumbing. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes staff's presentation. At this point, you'd be happy to answer questions or defer to the board's decision to have the applicant present.
Okay. Any questions, Clint?
I have a question regarding the recommendation to approve, and it was based on there not being, I think if I heard it right, it's based on there not being any electricity or plumbing run to the structure. What if you wanted to put a light in there?
Yeah, that was my question too. Who put that? Why is that put in there?
You would do battery.
There are, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, board member Zenio. The applicant and I discussed the issue of providing the utilities to the service. Given the proximity of it to the adjacent resident, we concerned about at some point in the future, possibly another owner or the property owner, current property owner may want to install some electrical or mechanical equipment that, given the proximity of to the next residence, that may not necessarily be appropriate. The applicant did discuss the potential of using battery operated or other sources of light to use for the storage.
We've seen several of these that come through, and I think that's the first time I've ever seen that verbiage in there. I was just curious if there was something particular about this this property or this application, because I think a lot of the other ones I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I would just like to think that if you wanted a light in your shed, I mean, I don't have a great big shed, not that big, but I have a light in my shed.
Well, me too. In the past few weeks, my wife has encountered 3 rattlesnakes. And I would hesitate to go into a shed back there without a light. I would think, I can understand if the neighbors are concerned about putting a mother-in-law house or a rental back there, which I don't think that would fit in with the neighborhood. But I don't see anything wrong with putting utilities. Maybe not a septic tank, but at least electrical or water certainly would be okay with me.
I guess my concern would be, as it should the board move forward with approving the variance, in the verbiage that's in there, I would hate to approve it and walk the the applicant into something where, yeah, he wants to have electricity out there, and then he has to come back here to get an approval to get power run to the shed.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Briseno, if the board would choose to move forward with approving the variance, the board has the discretion to remove that as a condition.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh,
Applicant, you
I
can have now.
I have no light in my current shed. So when they approached me about that, I had not been intending to run electricity to it. Primarily, it would cost a little also.
So, yeah,
And I don't think I'll be out there that much, but I could, it might be beneficial if they can have electricity out there and run a fan, because that consumes more than battery. Otherwise, I have a battery operated lamp, it's a candle flame. And in fact, I kind of entertained the idea of getting a little inverter, which I use a lot of Ryobi tools. I always have some on the charger anyway. But anyway, I would certainly accept it if you decided to allow future electrical or there, but I don't intend to.
okay, well, yeah,
And I just wanted to point out one thing. I don't know if you showed them the access to the gate. It's that particular location. I already have a gate in a slump block wall, which was placed there years ago. And so, yeah, you can see it. That location is the prime spot for me. Otherwise I have to walk farther, and I am hard to get around, but I just had back surgery 2 weeks ago, and I'm a little improved. I don't know how much I'm improved. And I do want to point out that that particular picture is a tree, that shed that's there. That one is actually a little smaller. I think it's about 2 feet shorter, and it doesn't have a window. I'm planning to put a window between, if the one I'm having is being built, it's going to be built. It has a window next to between the door and the barn doors. So I'm trying to make it look attractive, and the windows will have shutters also. I'm trying to make it attractive for my neighbor too, and he's not really that care.
oh, it's pretty obvious.
But I think that's the best location for it. And it is visible if you put it out further toward the south. Then it will be more visible to traffic because we have frontage road on the south, and you can see the way the trees are situated. It is unique. Now, if you look in that picture, you can see my neighbors, which are to the east. They have their buildings right up to the property line, like we all did at the time. There was no zoning, but we followed the homeowners association that we had at the time. So I'm not getting any advantage over anyone else in line with them.
Yeah, those are big property, or big parcels over in that area, and it's a nice area, and they're good sized lots.
So the new one will be actually further from the property line than the old one was, by about 2 feet.
And the feedback from neighbors, I saw 2 of them, I didn't see 3, but it was all
See the other one.
in favor of.
The property owner to the north just submitted a comment. It was last week, so it didn't actually make it into the agenda. But all of them were supportive, basically saying that they felt that they suffered no effect.
And it was the one to the north who was, he said mostly impacted.
Yeah,
Correct.
that was the first one.
That's the location of the property owner's proposed new building is closest to the property owner's new one.
Do we know what the comment was?
And he was fully supportive of.
His letter was in the packet. Should be in the.
No, there's only 2 in there.
It came in later. We usually kind of like that.
Closest kind was.
We had a deadline of September 20th to include in the packet, and that came in later.
Mr. Simpson, you've been there since the 77, is that correct?
77, yes.
You've seen it really grow.
Yeah. Yes, I have. We've been sad to start selling the property there across the street because it was all this pasture. But now we've got some nice buildings there too. My neighbor to the east, he uses that for Airbnb, so I didn't even try to contact him. And, well, I didn't really, I just contacted the three neighbors that were really closest to me, that were touching it, and then the fourth one up above. She's a new neighbor. So we let her know there's nothing. But you see this and you say, there's a Board of Adjustment meeting, and now you kind of wonder, what are they going to do? You're going to build a skyscraper.
New Walmart superstar goes through.
But if it's not, if I don't get the variance, then I'm probably not going to get that shed. I'm going to be left with either keeping that one and adding a second one smaller, and or maybe two smaller sheds. But
Now, is that existing shed, is that on the slab or just?
it's on skids. So if this is approved, I've got a friend who will come by tomorrow and pick it up.
And this new structure is going where the old one is.
Yeah, it's just,
It's a little bit bigger footprint.
yeah.
And a little farther.
I saw your comment about over the years accumulating stuff.
Yeah, that's why it's allowed to, yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's,
if you don't move, man, that's easy to do.
yeah. And I've lived there, like I said, all these 40-some years, so I threw a lot of the stuff away finally, but
That's why I just bought a new 45-foot Conex to put more stuff in.
Yeah, yeah. I joke about it all the time. I'm like, I don't want to tell my wife we never move because it's going to take a month to get rid of all this stuff. Are we, we're discussion?
Are you,
okay, hey, I just,
you finished?
I'm just asking you to approve it.
Okay. And I see no other people here to comment. So I guess we can close the public hearing. And so now, commission discussion.
We've had our discussion. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve docket variance.
Wait, we're not,
We're not there yet?
we're not, I don't
Okay.
think.
I was thinking people want to go.
Planning director, well, they do, but first, we gotta follow Christine.
Yeah, that's true.
So now we can have your summary, your recommendation.
Sure. Mr. Chairman and Mr. Presenia, based on the factors and findings approved, the findings of fact, staff recommends approval. Following condition, again, certainly has the discretion to approve the condition as part of the motion.
Okay, now we.
Okay, so let's see, let's make sure we get this right here. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve docket variance 23-07 located at 5555 South Shawnee Drive, Sierra Vista, Arizona, APN 105-94-16. Granting the variance as, well, removing the restriction on electrical especially. So I would just say blanket removing, I recommend approving this with the removal of shall not be serviced with utilities. Granting the variance as sort of requested by the applicant, but granting him that restriction removed. Factors in favor of approval constituting the findings of fact.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Okay, well, let's come to vote. We'll call for the vote. I vote aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay.
So they turn it into an Airbnb, okay?
No.
Then they'll say, what'd you guys do?
No, I have no intention of.
I just think if you want to run some, maybe one day you want to put a fan out there, a light or something, and
Or even water, they have water out for your plants out in the back. I don't see any problem with that.
Well, I could run a faucet detached from that building even if that had been a restriction, but yeah, I don't know what my plans are. It's nice to have the ability,
Yeah.
so in case someday when I move into the nursing home, sell the place, the new owners might want to do that too. That have to come back and.
And then we're not back here going, and you have electrical wire run to there.
And also, these are attached to the property, right? This is not the applicant, personally, it is attached to the property, so the next owner,
Once he gets the building permit.
Yeah.
and the variance.
yes. Okay? That concludes the public hearing. You're free to stay, or actually, probably Matthew will get in touch with you. So you can go ahead with your,
Oh, yeah, go ahead and go online and do the
yeah, do the permit and everything, and I guess you send him a letter that states that this was approved at the meeting.
You have to wait for that letter, or like, I don't think I will, but if I wanted to go online tonight, could I apply for the permit?
You could, they'll look for the notice of action from Matthew. They'll ask him about it tomorrow morning. Put that in our queue.
Yeah, I really can understand.
But yeah, you can go ahead and do it. The building techs will look for a letter from
Okay.
Matthew stating it was approved and
Okay.
the official notice of action. They'll have that in the next day or two. But if they have it, it's okay. They can start processing it.
Yeah, I got it. Once you retire, it's like do one project a day, that's it. Instead of have a leak in our air conditioning unit, which some pump is leaking, so they have to have drywall turned around out of the closet next to it. Unit taken out, put back in. So now I'm going to go with my insurance company and see if they'll cover some of that. Boy, they raised the deductible up a lot, so that I think you should finally claim.
Yeah,
Appreciate your time, and
well, thank you for
you
coming
don't
up.
need me here.
You can call your buddy, come pick that other one up.
Yeah. Yeah, get that out.
Get it out of your way.
And I got to level the spot, so. Then I called the Emerson Barnes, so I'll go ahead and say that I was going to have it earlier before I found out I needed the variance. So I told them to lay off on it, to stop for that.
Yeah.
So now I can go back. Thanks again. Thank you for
Okay.
your time. And
Thank you.
appreciate your pro bono. I thought that meant lunch with it.
Hearing is now closed, but the planning director's report, is that you or?
That's me for now, while he's out of the room. There are no dockets for next month as of now. We've been trying to keep it, last Wednesday of the month.
Mhm.
So unless I get something in the next week or so, we'll likely have October off. So,
Things are at least picking up anyway.
they are, yeah. We had a couple years where,
Yeah.
yeah. But, yeah.
I don't know, like, when you send the emails out, you accept it for the meeting, this is probably what happened with John. And I didn't even, I forgot about it. I thought I put it on my calendar and stuff, I forgot about it, and I saw the reminder email today.
And we sent it out extra early.
Yeah.
Usually it's a week in advance. It was more
Yeah.
like a week and a half.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate the reminder email, and I was like, oh, man, I'm supposed to be, I have a workout class I go to on Wednesdays, and I was like, well, just doing this out. That's all right, that's all right.
So what's happening with planning and zoning?
Planning and
department?
zoning is also off for a fall break in October, but we do have 4 dockets for November. Couple special uses, one on the Naco Golf Course, and the other one, another solar farm associated with APCO.
We're about to have power plant.
Yeah, that's Apache. In there. So, and then, rezoning? Yeah, actually, yeah. We have an upzoning and then 2 downzoning. So actually 5 dockets for November. Hopefully that's it. But they've been staying.
Good.
Well,
And that's all I got. Do you guys have anything?
Have any questions, comments?
I just had a question on that, because again, that was the first time I'd ever seen that.
It's the first time I've ever seen
Is there some thinking behind it? Maybe, didn't know about it until we saw it here, but is there some kind of some thought process behind adding that in there? And I understand, we don't want somebody building but I don't know, I guess I don't understand. That's what I'm saying, I take it out of there, because I think if I were to put up a good size, and I thought about putting up a garage in my backyard, I've got the room to do it. I live in the city though, and but I'd probably have its own panel on there. And I would definitely want a bathroom there, so I'm gonna get bring up my stuff or doing time I want to go back into the house, So is there something that the department is seeing that was a reason for adding the no utilities to be supplied with?
There were a couple of things, a couple of considerations. One was the applicant basically stated he hadn't intended to run anything to the property. He said, if I need any power, I'll just use something that's battery operated, or I might get a small solar panel for what I need it for. That was number one. Number two, the applicant alluded to this too, that at the time that perhaps he sells the property, our concern, or my concern as the case manager, was if somebody else came in and they wanted to, and they were already having, it was already energized, but if they wanted to use it for a workshop and no longer a storage shed, given how close it was to that adjacent residence, that was a bit of a concern. So just those two things. The other one too is part of the trade-off for the variance, and kind of like there's plenty of room on that property to put that structure and meet the setbacks. It could have gone almost anywhere else in the rear yard. So as a trade-off, in order for us to basically say, yeah, we'll go ahead and recognize, and we've seen it's the key word, precedent, but we've seen in the existing location where the shed is, you're basically going to replicate that. It's going to be a little bit, twice, 2.5 times bigger. But since it is, again, in such close proximity, and these owners may not be there in 5 years. So that was part of that thing.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I know guys. I know people who have in city limits, and they have workshops and stuff. And you could easily make it somebody could turn it into a bedroom and you could stay in there. So yeah. Okay. Well, that was my only question.
We appreciate the feedback on that condition for future reference as well.
Yes, that's the first time I've ever seen that in 20 years.
I think once they have, and that was the other thing is with these variances for, especially in that neighborhood, we've seen several from that neighborhood now. I understand, that they were, back when it was put up, it was the 20-foot, but the 5 is, and I think if you were to look at an aerial map, you can see that all over that neighborhood.
It's an old neighborhood, and a lot of it predated.
Zoning.
And some of these they're just long lots.
Yeah.
And people, they're keeping the backyard, free. They've got established trees, like there's all sorts of,
Yeah.
they're going where it's easiest. They want to go close to the house too.
Sure.
They have an acre, but they don't want to walk.
Well, that's really, I have friends that are also on Shawnee down the road from this guy, and that's the same as theirs. Theirs up, everything's up fairly close to the road, and the whole back, is mesquite trees and fruit trees and a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, good deal. Okay. Now we can, I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.